Now let's take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has joined Nigerians and the global community in celebrating the achievements of women and girls as the world marks International Women's Day. In a message to commemorate the day, she praised the strength, courage, and resilience of women across Nigeria and around the world, referencing this year's theme, rights, justice, action for all women and girls. She said empowering women is not an act of charity, but an investment in the nation's collective future. The First Lady said giving women access to education, healthcare, economic opportunities, and leadership platforms leads to stronger families, more prosperous communities, and a more inclusive nation, adding that when women rise, Nigeria rises. The theme of this year's celebration of the International Women's Day, Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls, emphasizes the need for legal protection, equal access to justice, and tangible policy changes to improve women's lives. Here in Nigeria, women are seeking for equal representation in Parliament and are hoping that the Special Seats Bill is passed before the 2027 general elections. Arise correspondent Juliet Obata tells us more.
I will sing the song for women.
A global alert from UN Women reveals that women worldwide hold 64% of the legal rights of men, making them vulnerable to discrimination, violence, and exclusion. International Women's Day highlights critical issues such as gender-based violence, workplace inequalities, access to education, and political representation.
Today we come together in solidarity, purpose, and hope as we reaffirm our collective commitment to advancing gender equality across Nigeria and beyond. The International Women's Day is a global celebration held every 8th of March each year to celebrate achievements towards gender equality and women's empowerment and to take stock of where we are and where we need to be. The UN global theme for this year's International Women's Day is rights, justice, and action for all women and girls.
The campaign slogan for the International Women's Day 2026, Give to Gain, promotes fundraising, mentorship, education, and support for women-led initiatives. At a press briefing in Abuja, the Minister of Women Affairs discusses the positive impact of these initiatives on Nigerian women.
Women's economic empowerment, political and leadership empowerment remains central to Nigeria's progress. The shift in the composition of women's leadership over the past decade is both remarkable and instructive. Women now hold key ministerial portfolios, lead major financial institutions, and increasingly occupy leadership positions across public services and international organizations. However, women's representation in elected positions remains significantly low, the global lowest. The Reserve Seat Bill will therefore present a historic opportunity and will complement our existing economic empowerment initiatives.
In Nigeria, women are advocating equal representation in Parliament and are hopeful that the Special Seats Bill will pass before the 2027 elections. The bill proposes adding 182 seats for women in various legislative bodies over 16 years.
I call on Nigerian women not to give up, to work. We have always been the backbone of the society, as everybody knows, and we should continue to do that and to know that what we haven't achieved yet is just what we haven't achieved yet. We will achieve everything we've set out to achieve.
The bill is currently in the committee stage after passing its second reading, but it requires 2/3 approval from both chambers and 24 state assemblies.
The Special Seats Bill is very important, considering our percentage in governance. And the only bill or only way we can get to where we are going to is if there's legislation supporting us. We have tried our best to come up, putting ourselves together across party lines, across organizations, and then that gave birth to the Women's Political Participation Technical Working Group. Today, Nigerian women, we collaborate, we work together to ensure that we support ourselves, because this bill is actually our bill.
At the stage we are right now, before that, the Speaker took a step that we must acknowledge. He created an advocacy group, a huge group, And many women here are members of that advocacy group. Not only that, we were also giving a gender seat at the chambers of the House of Representatives. Every day is like, and it's one of the most difficult things too. You are sitting down there and greeting about 360 people, passing every morning, coming, you greet some people, they answer you, some people, they don't answer you. You see, greet them, get up and sit down. But I think our women who have mounted the stage have been very, very wonderful.
At this gala by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, champions of the Special Seats Bill are commended for their relentless efforts in advocating for the bill.
Over the years, NIST have continued to work with legislators, NGOs, CSOs, international organizations, and relevant government agencies in advocating for women inclusion in governance. We shall continue to link our efforts with new development in collaborating with all our partners to boost women participation and representation in governance.
Every 8th of March is celebrated as International Women's Day, and it serves as a platform to recognize women's achievements and advocate for policies that enhance gender equality and women's participation in leadership. Juliet Obata, Arise News.
It is over a week into the US-Israel-Iran conflict, and the conflict is already pushing up global oil prices. Nigerians, like many others around the world, are beginning to feel the impact. Arise correspondent Georgina Ndukwe Ezeayinka reports on how the rise in crude prices are affecting petrol consumers in Nigeria. Let's take a look.
As the war involving the United States, Israel and Iran moves into its second week, the most immediate and tragic cost remains the loss of lives. However, economists are also focusing on the broader economic consequences of the escalating conflict. Global crude oil prices have surged to their highest level in nearly a year, with West Texas Intermediate crude futures rising more than 14% to above $92 per barrel. The spike is fueling concerns about rising fuel costs across the world. Qatar's Energy Minister Saad Al-Kabi has warned that Gulf exporters could halt production within days if oil tankers are unable to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping route that carries about 20 million barrels of oil and petroleum products daily. In Nigeria, the effect is already visible at the pumps. Several filling stations have adjusted their prices upward. The Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited has increased its pump price to 960 naira per litre in Abuja, up from 875 naira. Independent marketers such as AA Rano and Conoil have also implemented price increases. For many Nigerians, the hike is further squeezing household budgets and weakening purchasing power.
We're buying at 888 naira per litre. But presently, I think as I bought this morning at 950 naira. It affects my business. Like usually when they were buying at 880, at the price of transportation was a little bit down. But since I think about 3 days ago, when the price increased, I think everything has escalated again.
Of course, it's affecting us, it's affecting the whole family entirely, because we have to transfer from one place to another. And of course, it must affect because the money, the transporter increase, maybe the transport fare. And of course, that one, it will tell in our pockets, and in which the government must surely do something about it. They should look inward. The welfare of the people, at least, must be a priority, according to the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Analysts say the development presents mixed implications for Nigeria's economy. While the higher global crude prices could boost government oil revenues, the rising cost of petrol is expected to worsen inflationary pressures and further strain household incomes. Industry experts warn that if the tensions persist, crude oil prices could climb beyond $100 per barrel, a development that could trigger additional increases in petrol prices across the country. Georgina Ndukwezainka, Arise News.
We can feel the pinch of global events as we expected and we already projected last week. Dr. Bati, good morning.
Good morning.
I was saying to Rufai that I'm sure that the bow tie collaboration is as a result of celebrating International Women's Day. I know that's your signature style, but Rufai, yeah.
Very good. And he's also wearing a Ashoke bow tie.
Exactly. Yes. I'm the only on bow tie.
Very good type of compliment.
Yeah, they say the best kind of compliment
Aristotle.
is, yes, exactly. Imitation is the best form of...
that's what Aristotle said.
Absolutely.
Yes. And in London International Women's Day, I go first.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'll take that. Thank you. All right, so let me just, I'll be very quick. And today's stories, I am so delighted and proudly female this morning. And I dedicate this morning's, first news take to all the women who are watching out there, to all our female Arise News viewers, and of course the men who love them. Happy International Women's Day. Yesterday was especially special for women. Arise News honored 100 influential African women of impact. I was there last night and I had the opportunity firsthand to see some of these distinguished African women take the stage and have their moment, despite the fact that I'm sure for many of them it's not about the accolades or the awards, as some of them said in their speech. It was really about influence and impact. And that was the theme of the day yesterday. Impact, impact, impact. Every single woman who was on stage yesterday has story. I love the fact that they didn't take away the moments from each of the women. So each woman had her day in the sun with her profile, a very brief bio read out about, the woman on stage yesterday. But let me start off by saying congratulations to the chairman of the Arise Media Group, Prince Nduka Obaigbena, for this initiative. Last year we had the first one, and based on the success of last year's event, this year we had even more women honored. And this time there was a larger pool in terms of where the women were drawn from. Earlier I talked about Nigeria, from South Africa. Yesterday I learned about Auntie Sophie in terms of the name that she's fondly called in South Africa, and South African anti-apartheid activist. It was great to see her physically come there to receive that award. Dr. Diop Benta, UN Special Envoy to the African Union, AU Commissioner. And I love the fact that she spoke about the stories and the struggles of 30 years of establishing her own women-based or female-based organization, but making impact across gender. It was great to see Nigerian women. I loved listening to Senator Florence Itagiwa, who said in a very interesting way that the first time she saw the announcement on TV, she was about to call the people that she had seen on the list to congratulate them. And it was great to see her name. It was a surprise for her. And to know that the work that she had done over the years with Bakassi, serving in government under the Obasanjo administration, herself being a senator herself, it was great to see her work being recognized. Then the Queen Mother of Lagos. So just to talk about, Erilu Abiola Dosumu, different women from all walks of life. If I try to mention the names of the distinguished women who were honored yesterday, I would speak from now to the end of the show. But I just wanted to say congratulations. The significance of yesterday wasn't just to highlight the great work that women are doing and the contribution that African women have made on this continent and beyond. I mean, talking about Miss Omagome, who is working with King Charles and the palace, but also to be an example to younger women, to see examples of women who have shattered glass ceilings, who have gone against all odds to making a name for themselves and also making life better for people. Talk about Mrs. Shinkafi, who dedicated her award to the hundreds of women and children who died, unfortunately, in Zamfara, and saying that the motivation for her work is to ensure that no woman or child will lose their life in such circumstances. It was inspiring, to say the least. promised. And I just want to say that for anyone who hasn't watched it, please go back to the YouTube channel and listen to the stories, listen to the speeches, and very importantly, let it inspire us to do more. Women have taken the table, are on the table, and as we saw yesterday, we give to gain. If we invest in women, like the president, the wife of the president said, we empower not just the woman, not just her family, but a nation at large. It was a colorful ceremony. There we saw Miss Mosun Ogumbanjo, an architect par excellence. She was one of the first on the stage. Her speech was, really beautiful to listen to. There we see Mrs. Ogunlesi as well. Just to see so many women across different generations at Deso Okumbo Roads, so many women who have distinguished themselves in the line of service. But beyond that, the reserve seats bill. A number of people have different responses to affirmative action, which this would be, whereby we are deliberately creating legislature to ensure that we bring more women into the room. It's often said that Nigeria sadly has one of the lowest when it comes to representation of women or women representation in government. I recall that during his campaign speech, the president had assured Nigerian women that he was going to give at least 35% of his government, positions in his government to women. Unfortunately, he has fallen short of that particular promise. But I do believe that he has a few more months to make good on it. So we can see more women in government. We can see more women as, as ministers, as heads of parastatal, not for tokenism, but because of the fact that when you take away half of the representation of the population of a nation from decision making, you do a disservice economically, socially, and to Nigeria as a whole. So when you're representing Nigerian women make up half of the population of the nation, you cannot have conversations around building a nation without having the voice of half of the women, half of the population in the room. That's what we're calling for. It's not just a nice idea. It's not just good for the optics. It actually makes economic sense to have more women in the room. So if the bill, the reserved bills, seat bill would be the first step to having more women in the room, then so be it. Afterwards, we can revise when we are comfortable and we ease into the idea of seeing more women in representation, then perhaps we can then review that law. But for now, it is it makes good sense, it makes economic sense, and I hope that it would go, it would pass before the elections 2027. Again, congratulations to all women. I dedicate, like I said this morning, to speaking up and saying, well done to all the women who are working behind the scenes, who haven't yet been recognized. Like some of the women who spoke yesterday, one day your time will come. Keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully that day will come very soon.
Okay. Oh, good. I mean, I'm happy for the homage, for women out there and the great work they do. And I celebrate all of them because they have done a very, very immense work in society. So I has done a very beautiful recap. But the sad thing I'd like to talk about is a war this morning. We're seeing the effect of the escalation. As of this morning, petrol prices at the pump, astronomical in Nigeria, over 1,000 naira mark. And it keeps increasing. Just overnight, Brent hit up to 110, hovered around 108, hovered over the 100 mark. As at when the war started, pump price in America was $2.89. It rose up to $2.90 something, but today it's about $3.50. $3.50 per gallon. In fact, somebody was reporting this morning on television, and he said that in some Chevron stations somewhere in America, that it went up to $3.60, $3.65. The world is in dire straits. President Trump tried to minimize the issue by going ahead to say it's just a small pain. President Trump, it is a needless small pain. I'm not holding breath for the Iranian government. They have committed a lot of atrocities. But the talk about nuclear weapon, it's pretty much a replica of how America invaded Iraq back in the days. And they said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Turned out to be false. The Ayatollah that was killed was the same man that passed a fatwa against providing nuclear weapons. These are some of the things they'll not tell you in the Western media. Or they don't not see it enough. Now, a bigger hardliner in the shape of his son, Mujtaba, is now there. This was the same man that, disagreed with his father that he felt Iran should have a nuclear weapon. The IRGC actually wants him. He was chief of staff to his father. He could have been killed, but he luckily survived because he was not there when the strike happened. But his mom, all the family members were killed in the strike. So what's going to be the way forward? The war of attrition is going on in the East. America has brought back over 28,000 citizens. People keep leaving the Middle East and the killings are going on. There was a talk about a possible ceasefire, some people talking, but Argachi, the Iranian foreign minister, said nothing of such is happening. I think it's time for a ceasefire this morning. The bloodshed, the pain is too much. The Shayab oil plant in Iran that was bombed, the huge fumes of smoke everywhere in Tehran. In fact, the gutters are burning. While all of that happens, what about people in Qatar and some other areas? The world is on edge. Increase in oil prices, pass-through inflation, Strait of Hormuz is closed. Let common sense prevail. If wishes were horses, what will my wish be? Before the end of the week, there should be a declaration of a unilateral ceasefire. All parties should come to the table and talk. There is nothing beyond dialogue. The hegemony that America wants to push with Israel shouldn't be the order of the day. The rights of other member nations should be respected in the Middle East. America shouldn't say words like, we must play a role in installing the leader in the sovereign states. What if the Iranians have said, we must play a role openly in installing who the president of America will be? Would the Americans like it? No. So let us calm things down. Let cool heads prevail. And our dear Pope has led the way by also calling for this and say, let cool and calm heads prevail at a time like this. It's not sustainable. We can't all go mad. We can't all put a world on its edge. What leaders in America ought to be thinking of is how AI is taking the jobs of people. Thousands, or maybe millions of entry-level jobs will be lost because of AI. We all face the same problem, poverty, inequality, and we all want a better world, free of nuclear weapons and free of nuclear proliferation. We want a safer world where nature and state respect each other. I know it sounds like utopia this morning, but if there's a cry from a humble journalist somewhere in the global south this morning, is that please let there be a ceasefire and let's start mending the broken hearts. I hope we all listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very quickly on International Women's Day. Congratulations to all women worldwide. The theme of the occasion is Give to Gain. Now that theme, Give to Gain, says that when you support women, when you promote women, when you center them, there's a concept in the women's studies, which talks about centering women. And what it means is simply that society gains more when you center women, particularly in our society where you have about 50% of the population represented by women. In other words, discrimination, the decentering of women, it is society that loses. And so to celebrate women on a special occasion sends that signal that, look, the recognition of women, the appreciation of women, it is society that will you move forward, rather than a restriction to a transactional relationship with women. So it's about values for everyone. It's about multiplication rather than subtraction. And to see organizations like Arise News celebrating women, that's a step in the positive direction. Also, it's not just Arise News. We have other institutions that have celebrated women. To mention one example, Wema Bank also had an elaborate event. Other organizations have done that. So it's something to be applauded in terms of the organization of women, purpose, friendliness, and the gain for society thereby. Unfortunately, however, in terms of the management of the Electoral Act process, Electoral Act 2026, in the debates leading to that occasion, women empowerment was one of the major issues that we considered at the various fora that I attended. In other words, to create an enabling environment for women to contribute to society. But that has not happened. What we still have on the table is tokenism. political parties say, oh, any woman that is interested can just buy the form or collect the form free of charge. But in terms of our political practices leading to the 2027 general election, we are not centering women. We're not paying enough attention to how women can bring their talent. The talent that was showcased in the Arise News example yesterday evening, we're not harnessing that talent. For as long as you don't do that, then of course you are disempowering women. Tokenism, therefore, is not enough. Transactional relationship with women is therefore not enough. Now, the other issue, of course, is to congratulate all the women who were honored yesterday. I also congratulate, along that line, my wife, Kike Lomo, who got an award in the United Kingdom.
He for she, Dr. Bati.
Yes. I mean, she got an award, International Women's Day, in somewhere in the United Kingdom. She's collecting another award in Germany. Fantastic. Also in terms of the recognition of the impact that she's making with her work and with her journalism. So congratulations to everybody. However, my last point on this subject is that I would also like to see an occasion when men are also celebrated as well as women are being celebrated. An International Men's Day. Because we fathers, we the men.
Long-suffering fathers of Nigeria.
Aha, you know my familiar phrase. We do a lot. We sacrifice a lot. We run up and down. We too deserve to be celebrated for our creativity, for our confidence, for our candor, for our hard work, and how we feed into the family and how much we contribute into society. That's a challenge. It's not envy of women. No, because 2 months down the line, you people are still going to have International Mother's Day.
Next week, Sunday is Mother's Day. Let me just let you know. This Sunday,
okay.
15th of
so
March.
There will be Mother's Day.
Notes.
We the men will be celebrating you people. Also remember us. When you buy a vehicle, as someone did recently, they will give the mother G-Wagon. They will give the father Honda. No, please. Men should also be celebrated. However, let me go quickly to the issue about, the crisis in the Middle East and how it is affecting everyone all over the world. We have made the point that all of us are in this together. Now, pump price of fuel in Nigeria has gone to as high as 1,200 naira per liter. It's not only Nigeria that is suffering. It's the same case in the United Kingdom. It's the same case in the United States, where the pump price of fuel has gone up. Now, President Trump says, well, this is short-term crisis, and we should be ready to pay the price. Now, the world should suffer because of a war started by Trump and Israel. So how much candor can you place by that? Chris Wright, that's the Energy Secretary of the United States, says this will take a very short time, maybe it will end within 4 or 5 weeks, or weeks, he says, not months. Who is sure of that? With the Iranians saying they are ready to fight, even to do ground fighting, and who have shown great resolution by choosing in a dynastic manner, the son of the late Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, as the new Ayatollah. That's Mujaba. I think that's his name. So nobody knows when this will end. In fact, the experts are predicting that the pump price of fuel will get to about $150 per barrel. So when that happens, what is going to happen to us here in Nigeria, where the minimum wage is around, how much is it again? 70,000 naira. Many people are suffering because of the crisis in geopolitics. The G7 is going to meet. Diplomacy is already confronted frontally by the crisis in the world. Trump, from March 31st to April 2, is going to China. This is the news story, that the international community is facing. Now, the question is, how prepared are we in Nigeria? Who is looking out for us in a country where the major issue is about how market forces now dictate our lives? I think that this is where the challenge lies and where the federal government of Nigeria should begin to think ahead. Unfortunately, some people have been saying we will gain from this. If oil goes to $150 per barrel, Nigeria will make more money. Okay, even if we make more money, the question mark is a moral one. The state governments that made money from the removal of fuel subsidy, what did they do with it? Do we even have enough production in Nigeria? If our refineries were working, then you can talk about windfall, 1970s style, but we can't even talk of any benefit. However, what we are confronted with is the impoverishment of the average Nigerian. Don't be surprised very soon if people start asking for more salaries. If they start asking for an adjustment of the wage to cushion the crisis. And the Nigerian government, of course, we talk about revenue. When this administration started, they said, oh, revenue, that's not the target, and all of that is effective management. Now, revenue is our problem because the money is not going to come from anywhere. Even if the money comes, the cynical Nigerian will say that the money will be mismanaged under the rubric of conspicuous consumption and the extravagance of the ruling elite.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Bati. By the way, International Men's Day is in November. So we have about 9 months to plan for that. I hope that would make you very happy.
I hope it will be made as loud,
as elaborate. As, every day is Men's Day in the world.
Women.
Let women have their day.